Hey, you're listening to the Riverdale Podcast. This is episode number 84. My name is Jonathan. Welcome to lovely Riverdale, USA. This is a weekly Archie Comics fan podcast. We update every Saturday morning, and every week we break things down into 4 categories. The first category is the book of the week. That's the comic book I read this week. Sometimes it's a new comic book, sometimes it's an old comic book, but it's always an Archie comic book. We move then to the news of the week. That's what happened in the world of Archie in the week since our last podcast. Then on to new releases. That's what came out this past Wednesday, what will be coming up this coming Wednesday from Archie Comics. We're going to wrap things up today pointing out some confusion, hopefully settling some confusion about a current collected edition. We'll get to that when we get to it. It's a little confusing. It's even more confusing when I'm trying to be cryptic about it, I guess. We'll get to that when we get to it. It'll be confusing. That's something to look forward to at the end of the show. But without further ado, let's get on to the book of the week. This week's book of the week is Afterlife with Archie, number 1. How could it be anything else? This is a ridiculous comic book. This is the comic book that shouldn't be. This is an exciting and conflicted and strange book. I have a lot of feelings about it. I feel like we should just take a moment and sort of lay this out, I guess. This book was announced 7 months ago. I went back and looked at the press release that came out on Deadline.com, and that was dated March the 5th of this year. That's when we got that teaser image. That was before Francesco Francavilla was attached as the artist. We know that Roberto Aguire-Sacasa was going to be writing it. And we saw some artwork that Francesco had done for a variant cover of Life with Archie that came out last year. So what I did in preparation for this is I really want to know how long we've been waiting for this and how much we knew about it up front. And so I went back to that announcement, and I guess the problem there pertaining to this first issue is that as part of that press release, they gave you almost beat for beat the plot of this first issue. So when I read this, it was hard for me to get excited about what was happening in the book, and I think it gave me a little more room to sort of go through and nitpick and stuff. I wasn't as blown away by the story as maybe I would have been if I'd gone in cold. And again, that's my problem. It was my decision to do this podcast. It was my decision to be on top of all this news as it's coming out. So I've had a huge amount of anticipation leading up to this book. And did it meet all of my expectations? Yes, it met all of my expectations. It did not exceed any of my expectations. But let's go through the book a little bit. Let's talk about it. Now, as you know, this is Afterlife with Archie. This is a zombie story set in Riverdale. If you've been listening to the show, you know we've been talking about this. And I'm going to put up a spoiler warning, spoiler alert. If you haven't read the issue, if you don't know the plot of the story, you should probably skip ahead to later in the show. We're going to get into the guts of the book for sure. The premise of the story, as was announced, 7 months ago, is that Hot Dog gets hit by Reggie's Roadster. Jughead finds Hot Dog and brings him to Greendale, to the home of Sabrina Spellman, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, in hopes of reviving Hot Dog. And Sabrina's aunts do their best and can't revive him. And so Sabrina goes and turns to black arts to bring Hot Dog back. And no big surprise, things really go awry. Hot Dog ends up coming back from the dead, digging up out of his grave, biting Jughead, and infecting him. And the issue leaves off with Jughead arriving at the big Halloween school dance and attacking Mr. Weatherby. That's sort of where we leave things off. He attacks Mr. Weatherby, and then he goes into the dance itself, and everyone turns to look at him. So as a story, at face value, that utilizes the characters in the universe, it seems plausible within the Archie universe, and it's obviously, got that dark turn to it. And Francisco Francavilla's art is terrific. I think that he's playing with a lot of heavy shadows in here, even when you're in Jughead's house, even when you're in the halls of Riverdale High. So that seems a little heavy-handed. But they went for a really intense, dark tone for the entire book. So the characters look like the characters. They're obviously not drawn in the house style. But they look good. The pages and layouts look good. There's an amazing page where Sabrina's aunts are chastising her for having used dark arts. And they are very terrifying looking. I want to say like spectral or something. They look like, your classic terrifying floating witches. You'll have to see the panel. It's really well rendered by Francavilla. Now, to get to the things that I wasn't thrilled about in the issue itself, is that I don't know if Roberto handled the characters the way that I would want him to. With the initial read-through, I wasn't thrilled with the way that Betty and Veronica interacted with one another. I thought they were a lot more biting and just out-and-out mean. I thought that the language that they used was really gendered, which I was uncomfortable with. There was a lot of specific, awful stuff that they were saying to each other that didn't make them sound like friends at all. And maybe I'm detached from the teenage world, and that's how teenagers talk to each other. But man, it was like that was my official take. My first read through. I read it. I liked it a lot, and I just hated the way that Betty and Veronica interacted with each other. Reading through it again, I felt like some of the characters were a little wooden. Like maybe there are things that Archie says to Reggie where Archie is explaining Reggie to the reader, but it reads as though he's explaining Reggie to Reggie, if that makes sense. He's saying, Reggie, you're a frat boy, you this, and that. As though if you had never read an Archie comic, they were introducing you to the characters. And I don't know that they needed to do that. It felt a little bit awkward. But I think the ultimate test of a first issue is, are you excited for the second issue? And I am 1,000,000% excited for the next issue, you guys. I think that, as I said, I knew the plot of this first issue. I'm sort of waiting to get through it to get to the next thing. And I think that knowing the plot, it left me a lot of room to sort of poke holes in things and look at things that I didn't like. But having said that, I'm along for the ride. I am in this for as long as it goes. I'm sure we'll be talking about future issues as they come out. But warts and all, I like it. I don't love it, but I like it. The first issue, but I'm in love with the series. I'm excited about where it's going. So get out there, get yourself a copy, read it for yourself, make your own opinion, and go along for the ride with us. We'll be talking about this issue by issue as it comes out, I am certain. So that is this week's Book of the Week, Afterlife with Archie, number 1. In Archie news this week, right back where we started at the top of the show. Afterlife with Archie #1 has sold out at the distributor level. This is huge, not entirely unprecedented, but huge nonetheless. This would be the third, by my count, third Archie comic in their 72-year history to sell out. First sellout was, of course, Veronica 202. That was the first appearance of Kevin Keller. Also, Kevin's wedding in Life with Archie #16, I believe. That was the issue number. The Kevin Keller wedding issue. That was a sellout as well. And Afterlife with Archie has sold out at the distributor level. That means that all of the issues that were printed are now in the hands of fans or stores. That means that Archie has sent their books to Diamond, and then retailers ordered those books. So that does not mean if you go to your retailer, they're not going to have Afterlife with Archie. It means they're definitely going to have Afterlife with Archie. And that we will undoubtedly be seeing a second printing of the first issue. I would assume we'd have that in pretty short order. It sold out, I think, the day after, the Thursday after it was released. And it seems that they're getting a lot of hype at New York Comic Con this weekend. So I would expect to see a reprinting of the first issue around the time the second issue comes out. So that's big news. Afterlife with Archie has sold out at the distributor level. Head to your stores, your shops. They should definitely have it. But this is a comic shop only edition, a comic shop only issue. You're not going to find it at your grocery stores, bookstores, things like that. But that's cool news. Other news, little piece of news, exciting piece of news nonetheless, is Sabrina, Secrets of a Teenage Witch, premieres today. As you hear this, Saturday, the 12th of October. Check your listings. It's on the Hub Network. I think they have it scheduled to play multiple times over the weekend, so you'll definitely be able to see it if you've got the Hub Network. I haven't checked to see if it's going to go up on iTunes or anything like that, but that should be something that we're looking for over the weekend. I think everybody's going to be able to see it, and we should be talking about that further next week. We should have a show talking about that, so that's something exciting to look forward to. But that's it for the news of the week. Obviously, New York Comic Con is going on as you hear this weekend. So we'll get some announcements out of that when we talked to Dan Parent just a couple weeks back. He said there's going to be a cool Kevin Keller announcement coming out of New York Comic Con. That should be coming out today, again, Saturday the 12th. So we'll talk about that next week. So light news week this week, probably a bigger news week next week with the announcements from New York Comic Con. But your news of the week, Afterlife with Archie has sold out of its first issue. And get yourself to your TV set and watch Sabrina, Secrets of a Teenage Witch. All right, new releases. New releases for this past Wednesday, October the 9th. Of course, Afterlife with Archie, #1, a $2.99 comic. Go out and grab that. Enough said about that. Kevin Keller, #11 for $2.99 is out this week. That is a rad issue. This is written by Paul Kupperberg and drawn by Dan Parent. This was a super fun issue, and if Afterlife with Archie wasn't the biggest thing in the world this week, I would have loved to have talked your ear off about this issue. It was a lot of fun. I love Paul Kupperberg's voice with the Kevin Keller character. It's nice to have a little switch up. Super fun. Kevin Keller, #11, out this week for $2.99. Coming up this coming Wednesday, the 16th, had an awful hard time finding solicits for Archie. It seems like a lot of their October books have switched dates around. If you go back to the original solicits, Afterlife with Archie was planned on coming out later in the month, closer to Halloween, and I think they bumped it ahead to have it out for New York Comic Con. It looks like the Fox was planning on coming out earlier this month, a few weeks. Maybe even by now, and we're not going to see that again until the end of October. So it seems like a lot of Archie stuff has been switched around this month. But I'm expecting / hoping, let's cross our fingers. This is what I feel comfortable saying will be in stores this coming Wednesday, the 16th, is Betty and Veronica number 268 for $2.99. This is the final story in the series of story princess tales, the storybook tales that Dan Parent's been writing and Jeff Schultz has been drawing. This is Reggie Stilskin. I'm excited for that. So Betty and Veronica 268 for $2.99. Also, Betty and Veronica Friends Double Digest number 236 for $3.99, and World of Archie Double Digest number 33 for $3.99. Looks like no new big digital exclusives this week, but do check back over the weekend. Usually those are posted by Friday, but sometimes they'll creep up over the weekend. So keep an eye out for your digital releases. But that's going to do it for new releases this week. Those are your new releases for this past Wednesday, October the 9th. Your hopefully upcoming releases for October the 16th. And no new digital releases for the week from Archie Comics. All right, finally today, let's talk about Betty and Veronica's Princess Storybook trade paperback. This was scheduled to come out last week as a $9.99 price point. And this was originally solicited over the summertime to include all of the great Dan Parent written, Jeff Schultz drawn Princess Storybook tales. We had Beauty and the Beast, we had Snow White, we had Little Mermaid, we had Rapunzel, and then I think it's supposed to wrap up with Reggie Stilskin. I may have missed one in there, but in any event, it's been a multi-issue line of done-in-one stories, but a whole collection. And I think the intention was to collect all of those into this trade paperback. Now, we're supposed to see the final chapter of this, Reggie Stilskin, in next week's Betty and Veronica number 268. So, when I saw the Betty and Veronica Princess Storybook, I had it in hand at Granite State Comic-Con. Dan Parent had copies for sale. I picked it up and looked through it to see if Reggie Stilskin was going to be in it, and it was not. We had, I believe, 2 or 3 of those stories, and then some older, some reprints of some older storybook-style stories. And when I asked Dan Parent, he said that Reggie Stilskin was going to be in the second collection of Princess Storybook, Betty and Veronica trade paperbacks. So, if you are ordering it with the intention, or picking it up with the intention of getting the Reggie Stilskin story, or getting all of those Dan Parent, Jeff Schultz stories, I guess those are going to be stretched out between 2 separate trade paperbacks. The confusion for me set in when I saw the stuff coming through Archie Comics, social media, and all that stuff, with the original cover treatment listing all of those stories, all of which are not actually appearing in the trade paperback. Also, as of this week, up at the digital store, you got the Betty and Veronica Princess Storybook posted there, and I don't know whether that has the same contents as the physical version that I looked at, that has some of the new stories and some of the older stories, or whether that's an actual collection of all of those stories that came out over this past spring and summer. So, as I said at the top of the show, a little confusing. I guess the moral of the story is, what I'm trying to get at is, before you pick up Betty and Veronica's Princess Storybook, check out the guts, see what's inside, and make sure it's what you're looking for. All right, if you want to help out the show, there's an easy way to do that and get something for free at the exact same time. You may already know about Audible.com. It is the biggest, best place you can go for audiobooks, for any sort of audio dramas, classic old-time radio shows, periodicals, things like that. Anything that is a written word that can be audibly read. Audible's got it. If you've got a long commute or you're taking a trip, anything like that, hours of entertainment to be had at audible.com, and free hours of entertainment to be had if you head over to audibletrial.com/Riverdale. audibletrial.com/Riverdale. Sign up for a free trial. You get a free audiobook of your choice. You can check out what they've got, choose a free book, and when you do that, that kicks some money back at the show. So it's an easy way to go sign up, get something for free, and support the show at the same time. So thanks for considering that. On the way out, I want to remind everyone to head over to RiverdalePodcast.com. There you're going to find the cover, one of the many covers to Afterlife with Archie, #1. You'll also get links to the news stories I talked about earlier in the show. You're going to find links at RiverdalePodcast.com to like the show on Facebook, follow the show on Twitter. You can subscribe on iTunes, have new episodes delivered every Saturday morning right to your iTunes. And if you're listening on iTunes, we could really use some more reviews. Reviews are depressingly, cripplingly critical to the success of a podcast. So the more reviews, the better. That would be awesome if you'd consider that. Also, you can send us an email with any questions, comments, anything you want to hear on the show. RiverdalePodcast@yahoo.com. We should have a fun episode next week. We're going to talk a lot about Sabrina the Teenage Witch, or rather, Sabrina's Secrets of a Teenage Witch, the brand new animated series. I'm really, really, really thrilled about that. There's a lot to be excited about, guys. Afterlife with Archie is rolling on. That's going to be great. We got the new Sabrina animated series. We've got movie news to look forward to. We've got animated series news to look forward to. We've got The Fox coming out later this month in just a few weeks. Really, really thrilled about The Fox. It's a cool time to be an Archie fan for sure. So, thanks for hanging with me on this weird episode. Drop me a note. Let me know what you thought of Afterlife with Archie. I'd love to get a couple more voices in on that. Write me. Let me know what you thought of Life with Archie. We'll read some of those letters on next week's episode. So, I guess that's going to do it for this week. Thanks so much for listening, you guys. Again, my name is Jonathan, and I'll see you again next week here in lovely Riverdale, USA.